Hello and welcome again to Between the Sheets with me, James Maggs. Today I am joined by what can only be described as Fleet Street royalty. Dawn Neesom is a columnist for the Daily Star and broadcaster. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me between your sheets.
So there we go. We go between the sheets because there is one story in town and we don't want to talk about it really.
Exactly.
So we want to talk about the other big story in town.
Yes.
Harry and Meghan are really beginning to upset me. They are infuriating me.
We are talking about the world's most publicity-shy, privacy-driven couple. And we know they're privacy-driven because they mention it in endless sycophantic podcasts, and they're going to tell us about how much they want their privacy in a live Oprah Winfrey 90-minute broadcast that's going to go around the world.
She's clearly had an agenda from day one.
Do you think she wears the trousers in that relationship?
I think that she has... I'm sure he was unhappy about certain things before, and the realisation that he was going to be trapped in this position where his brother was going to be the fated one because of the way that the system works. But he had a real opportunity to carve something out there. There's only two of them, for God's sake.
Exactly.
But he chose not to, in the same way that the further away you get from that central part of power, that line of power, the more wayward they become, because the more desperate. And we've seen it with Andrew, we've seen it with his girls, we've seen it with, you know, you hear them talk and they become very earnest about this institution that, to be honest, you know, the public aren't that enthralled by it.
No, I mean, you know, we like the Queen, who doesn't love the Queen, but the rest of them, yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, it's, you know, I wanted this to work, James. I wanted this to be the breath of fresh air, shaking up the royal family, shaking up the whole constitution. She's beautiful, she's feisty, she's got character, she's
articulate.
She's articulate, unlike me this afternoon, but it's been a long day. But, as you say, I think this was almost planned from day one. I don't think she wanted to come here. I don't think she wanted to spend any time here. I don't think she was going to be happy trawling around some grim housing estate somewhere, cutting ribbons and going, I declare it open and smiling nicely. She didn't want that. She is a Hollywood actress. That's the career she wanted. But you know what got me today? I mean, obviously we had the photo and then we had the announcement that they were doing this this Don't Invade Our Privacy 90-minute live chat with Oprah Winfrey, which is going out globally, by the way.
Meghan's talk show move undermines the very monarchy that made her, which has consistently been my point, which is you have become part of an institution that took you from a B-rated actress that meant that you probably could have done a podcast and made a reasonable living into global stardom.
Yes.
And that is why you are able to monetize. The only reason that you are getting these deals...
Because you're a member of the royal family.
Because you have been a member of the royal family and you have had £37 million of the taxpayers' money spent on building your profile. That's what the wedding was about.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And he has had an incredible fated life. So, of course, he said, well, you know, I love the armed services. Two things about that. Number one, if you are paid what the armed services are paid and you don't have all the flunkies and the cars and the things and everything else, I can imagine it's a fairly miserable lifestyle. But if you're able to go off and play helicopters when you can come back to the most enormous, you know, castles and things and stuff, it makes, you know, I'd be happy to do a lot of jobs if I knew that I had all these things away from it because I wouldn't care about what I was paid. The second point is you are elevated beyond your capabilities because of who you are.
Oh, he's not the sharpest tool, is he?
Doesn't matter, but the point is that I'm sure he's really good at doing what he was doing. But it doesn't mean that you get elevated to be head of this division, head of that division, unless you're part of the royal family.
Of course it doesn't. But and they, as you say, they have bitten the hand that feed them, and there is no coming back from them.
Except you say that, but the hand that wants to feed them is giving them every piece of more money. Because here we are, we're talking about it. We have just added to their value. That's what that makes me hurt, and that makes me have to do something.
Go on.
So
go on.
I'm sorry to have to do this, but I've got to ask you, and I need to put these on.
Well, this is the bit that worries me.
Yeah, well,
I walked
you should
in
be
here
worried.
And the first thing I saw were those. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, listen, I need these. I need these for this.
I'm just a bit more social distancing here, I think.
Right, so sorry, I just need them because we're going to go into The Guardian. So.
Oh, right. Well, don't you need a full hazmat suit?
Yeah, quite. So, I just put on my special gloves so that I can touch the pages of The Guardian. Here we go. Marina Hyde says, whatever you think of the Sussexes, their critics are worse. Like a lot of middle-aged newspaper men, the only reason I lose my mind over anything Meghan does is because I truly care about the dignity of the royal family.
Oh, get over yourself. No.
Oh,
Marina, no. I'm not a middle-aged.
Who is it? But it goes on and on and on and on. She whitters on about this or sleeping your way up there.
But
you know what I think of Marina Hyde.
She got a lot of words out of that, didn't she?
You know what? I'd really get fed up with boring columnists who just woof on. And the thing is, it's as bad as the Harry story.
Not all columnists are boring, by the way.
No, they're not.
No. Some of them are very good.
Yeah, but here's the point is, she is being as hypocritical
of course she is, because
as the Sussexes.
She's got 3,000 words out of that for a start.
Yeah.
But you know,
and that's my horror.
Yes.
So, for example, I'm really happy that someone wants to champion the environment, but please don't do so having just flown to the conference in a private jet.
In a private jet, and live in a house with 14 rooms when there's only 3 of you, and when you went on a tour raising awareness of landmine victims and rape survivors in Africa, haul over loads of gas-guzzling cars to drive you around, and then, and this is what really got me, James. Really,
and then use it for your announcements.
Really use it, and then make the whole documentary about that trip about them. And Meghan, after talking to little girls that have been raped and kids that have had their limbs blown off, actually said, "Well, no one's asked me how I am," and it's like, seriously. The level.
She can turn it on though, can't she?
Oh, well, she's an actress, but
that's again. Why does history repeat itself though in that family?
Yeah, well,
it really does. I mean, you have the scandal that repeats itself generation after generation. You have the arguments that repeat again and again. You have the behind closed doors rows and public spaces
and the mess ups. Because name a single royal interview like they are going to do with her bestie Oprah Winfrey that's ever gone well. I mean, Diana's interview, Charles's interview, Prince Andrew. It's not going to go well, is it?
That was
really,
that was beyond gold.
Who is advising them? Yes, really, what you want to do to make everything better and stop digging the hole you're currently in is have a chat live on TV, because that's worked for everybody else in that family. I
mean, I genuinely hope that it doesn't mess up for them. I don't want to admit that I want to watch it, but I am going to watch it. Are you going to watch it?
Well, I'm going to have to watch it because I want to do a Marina Hyde and get 4,000 words out of it. No hypocrisy there.
No, I'm sorry, I don't. It just irritates me. Right, okay, let's move on then, because I do believe that there are some lesbian pirates that you'd like to discuss.
I love this story. This is my absolute favourite story of the day, rummaging through this pile of papers here. I do like papers, don't you? Love newspapers.
I'm going to miss newspapers when they're no longer with us. And anybody who says, "Oh, you can just read it on a tablet or a thing,"
no, I can't do it. I have to have a pile of papers around me. This is in the Daily Mail today, and I think other newspapers are available. And yeah, it's in the Sun. And the Sun, to be fair, have got a great headline: "Woke the Plank." This is a lesbian pirate statue. 2 female pirates has come under fire for honouring a couple of violent criminals and its patriarchal view of skinny women. It's actually a tribute to Anne Bonny and Mary Read, 18th century pair of pirates who were believed to be lovers. No one actually knows, but they were very successful. I love the fact that there's a statue going up towards them.
Except there are people already complaining about it, going, "Oh no, we can't possibly have this."
It's not happened yet. This is an artist's impression of what it's going to look like. And you've got one side going, "Oh my God, they're too skinny, they're too curvy, they're too beautiful." No one's seen it yet, it's just an artist's impression. And it looks like a statue to me. And why don't we make them realistic? I remember that statue of the feminist, Mary Wollstonecraft, wasn't it? And they did, it's in London.
Yes,
yeah,
somewhere.
And they did her. And
unless they're taking it down.
Yeah, no, it's still there. And they did her with boobs and sort of like other bits on display and quite sexy. And so people are going, feminists are going, "Oh no, you can't do that, they're too sexy." And on the other hand, you've got the woke brigade going, "Oh my God, they're bloodthirsty pirates. You can't have a statue of bloodthirsty pirates." Now, if I was a little girl, I'd love to go and see this statue.
But I find, though, that we've got... Why have we allowed ourselves to get into this position where we're having rows about every statue, should it be there, should it not be there, let's just clear it all out, let's get rid of them, oh, somebody did this. If you got rid of statues of everybody who's done something wrong, we'll have nothing left.
We'd have no statues whatsoever.
Because human nature, isn't the great story about the people to whom we fate and statues and all that, is... we have to remember them for, yes, the good or the reason that they're notable and famous, but also perhaps for all their fallibilities too.
Well, you learn from history. I know it's the cliche and it's quite serious, but you do learn from history.
Unless you're the royal family.
Unless you're the royal family, in which case you don't learn anything ever at all because it's all about you and you get more publicity out of it. But, I mean, I live in a part of London that is, the docks, basically. Remember that statue that was in Canary Wharf area? You know, it's part of the old docks. And Sadiq Khan and Tower Hamlets decided to tear it down because it was a slave trader who helped build the docks and built up the economy of London and gave a lot of working class people who lived in that area jobs. Neither here nor there. And they were so pleased that they'd done this. It's like, oh, this is really good for the people of East London. Everyone was really offended by that statue. And it's like everybody in East London was going, Didn't even realise the statue was there.
But also the other point is that the reason that East London is what it is today is because of all the history of the immigration, of the trade, of the work, of the elevation, of the you know, of the redevelopment and all this sort of stuff.
No one cares about statues. I don't give a monkey's
Well,
about...
I care about statues in the sense that I want them there.
But but no one walks... Look, you know, tell you what, knife crime in London, right, getting serious, going through the roof. One weekend... 2 weeks ago now, there were 14 stabbings in London, 2 kids dead. One of them was 13, a 13-year-old boy. And we've got a mayor who has learned his lesson this week, but a mayor who is more obsessed with having a survey of road names and statues and hospital names and building names in case they are offensive.
Yes, because he hasn't done his homework and he doesn't realise what he's supposed to be there to do.
Go away.
So I want to go in between the sheets and head towards freedom of speech.
Oh.
Why are we... I mean, I was given a really interesting stat, which I think is possibly fueling all of this. So the stat that I have this morning is that 3 American tech companies are now worth, in total, so there's Apple, Facebook and Amazon are worth £3.9 trillion.
Wow.
The FTSE 100 index, the value of all of the companies on that is just over £2 trillion. So the 3 big companies, compared to 100 of our biggest companies, they're bigger. And that shows where power has gone and money has gone. And they keep trying to say that they're tech companies and they're not publishers and broadcasters. And you talk to me about loving newspapers. Newspapers used to be the conduit. It used to be the access. It used to be distribution. It used to be where money came from. Now money comes through tech. We all know that. And the thing is that they are having this debate online and feeding all this nonsense about what you can and can't say. And we're seeing people lose their jobs over it.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the serious side of this.
In some senses, quite rightly so, that you're seeing people who are being called out on saying stuff because, you know, staff are beginning to get powerful and say, well, you can't be sexist if you're head of a company, you can't be racist if you're head of a company.
But we have laws. We have laws that say what you can and can't say, quite rightly so. What we don't need is a bunch of woke university lecturers dictating what you think, what you say, how you behave.
But they are, and this is the issue.
This is the thing.
But now, when those people who have been through that process, and it's been going on for the last probably 10, 15 years, when they get into managerial positions, I mean, by all means, then change it. But we're now in a position where the court of public opinion, or rather the court of your staff's opinion, can now determine somebody else's career. Is that allowed?
Well, it shouldn't be allowed. It really shouldn't be allowed. But
I mean, if you, during your days in, because newspaper newsrooms were particularly noted.
Feisty.
For, shall we say, free speech being used on a regular basis.
Yes.
If you could go back in time...
Oh, my Lord.
...and have a look at what was said and done in those newsrooms 15, 20, 25 years ago. I mean, today, if that got out, woof.
Well,
everybody would be fired.
They would often ask, when I worked on The Sun and obviously still work for the Daily Star, they would often ask oh, can we come and do a fly on the wall behind the scenes of what goes on in the newsroom.
And I dare say the bosses went, what a lovely... No.
What a marvellous idea. No, but you couldn't. And look, I mean, we can't judge what happened in the past on what we feel and think and what is correct today.
But why do we? Because we're allowing that to happen sometimes.
Too much.
Yeah.
We are allowing I mean, some of the stuff that went in the past with the sexism and some of the stuff that young women had to put up with.
I mean, isn't it better now? Isn't it better now that we have a really clear idea as to what is acceptable and what is not in terms of behaviour? You stick to that today. You must not go back in the past and start trawling through somebody's.
No, of course not, and that's what people do. And this is what they've done. I mean, the most shocking was Peter Tatchell, was a man who's fought all his entire life for gay rights, was banned. Because he was somehow deemed to be anti-gay. I mean, how do you even work that out?
I think it's because he'd had a view on trans or something that they didn't agree with.
It's just like, what? This is the problem.
But isn't that also the problem, that as people change or learn about things, you've got to have these awkward conversations to allow a population to all get up to speed on what is and is not acceptable.
Exactly. And this is the whole point. I didn't go to university. Did you go to university?
I did go to university,
well, I'm not surprised. But I didn't go to university, but I always thought that the point of university was that young people went and met people from all over the world with different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different opinions, and you broadened your horizons. It's not just about getting a degree, is it? It is about meeting different people, having debates, having discussions, learning things about the world rather than what you're studying. And we are stopping that, and we're stopping that in universities. But
we're also ending up with groupthink, and groupthink,
yes,
which is, this is what we're so good at, by the way, not groupthink, by the way. What we're so good at in this country is we're good at using our brains to deal with the fact that we generally don't have enough investment, enough money, or enough resource, and therefore we are resourceful because we come up with solutions which are incredible solutions because we've had to. Why was so much developed in terms of dealing with the vaccine and getting that done?
Yep.
Because we're used to really thinking on our feet. That's what you want to teach.
Yes.
And we have to get away from this, everybody must have the same. Because I've worked with lots of people from all over the world, and sometimes, the brilliance, and you wish that our educational system achieved certain things. But one thing I don't wish is that, particularly with the American and some of the European systems, where you have people who are incredibly good at doing what they do, but they are unable to think laterally.
Absolutely. Can't see outside that box.
They certainly can't.
And part of this is the unconscious bias training.
Oh.
It's like, it was one of the Oxford colleges when Margaret Thatcher went to, and she would be turning in her grade. There was, introducing this unconscious bias training to root out how racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic and everything else we are. And you had to get 100% pass rate in it. I mean, they've gone back on it now because they realise
Well, they realise that it's stupid, but here's the other thing is that I don't want to live in a world where everybody is equal. I want to live in a world where people have equal opportunity, which is very different.
Of course, different.
And it's really important to understand the difference.
Yes.
Because if you have a world in which everyone is equal, first of all, that never works, because the day you equal everything out, then the next day people get ill, people die, people have problems, people have issues. Money moves around, deals happen under the, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It becomes unfair the second you've done it. The second point is that equal opportunity means that you need to perform yourself. And with a brother who's a cellist, so for example, he has incredible talent, but he wouldn't get to where he's got to without working blooming hard. So you have to have that instilling of working hard.
Exactly.
And where is that in today's world?
Well, we're not having it because it's not your fault. It is never your fault. There is always somebody else to blame for absolutely everything.
So how do we deal with this awful grip of unconscious bias training? And the other thing is that we have to understand that I don't think that you can ever have a world which is, and I'm not, again, would I want one, which is totally colourblind or blind to people's cultures, because I want to recognise people's cultures, because otherwise you then end up with, there are plenty of cultures which are racist, homophobic, and everything else, so you have to be able to deal with that within the culture.
Of course you do.
But let people have their particular religious beliefs without sanitising
This is what makes the world such a global, vibrant, amazing place to be. We are all different. We can't all think the same. We don't all look the same. We should acknowledge our differences, celebrate those differences.
I want to move on because I want to ask you a question about your campaign on Gavin Williamson in the Star, and we'll just finish up with a little Star roundup, because I dare say for many of those watching, perhaps they haven't enjoyed the delights.
It is the best paper, especially on a Wednesday.
So a crackdown on cancel culture has been launched by Gavin Williamson. You've called him Gavin Thicko Williamson here, or somebody has. Is it right to... I'm sure he might be.
It's not exactly covered himself in glory,
no, he hasn't. I mean, no. I agree with you, but I just wonder in this day and age, is it right to call somebody a thicko?
I think terms and conditions apply on this one without being too PC. I think if it's a politician, pretty much fair game.
Okay.
And we have this thing going in the Star because I think most people do agree.
It's clowns. Who's clown of the week, clown of the day, clown of whatever?
It's clowns. Most
clowns are scary.
Well, yeah, some of them are really scary and dangerous. I mean, Matt Hancock. But I think most of us agree that most of our politicians at the moment, and this isn't political, of all sides, are clowns. I mean, all Keir Starmer ever does is go, oh, well, I'd have done it sooner and bigger and better, then never explains how. I
love the fact that one of his designers in the of his campaign is already slagging him off and telling him that he's got to go in a different direction.
I know, yeah.
I mean, who's he? I mean, you would have thought that if he was that close to Keir Starmer, you wouldn't be writing it in the paper.
You wouldn't be doing it in the paper, would you?
No, you wouldn't take some
Just have another flag behind you, Keir. That would get around all the problems.
Quite.
No problem.
Meanwhile, back into the Star, setting aside that Madonna wrote into Michael McIntyre's Holiday, which is a great story.
Did you like that one?
I did like that one, yeah. I like Michael McIntyre. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's good old-fashioned, you know. He's good old, yes, just
a
before.
A comedian that's funny,
yes,
surely
a comedian
not.
that's funny. He's one of the people who should have more airtime on television. Meanwhile, I'm not sure that Gordon Ramsay doing his bank balance show with lots of effing and jeffing is really right for the BBC.
That made me smile, I must admit, that did smile.
It makes me smile, but
Yes.
it's just, why is the BBC spending money on that?
Well, why does the BBC spend money on anything these days that they spend money on, to be honest with you, including the staff? Did you know the staff? The average wage of the ordinary people that work for the BBC, we're not talking Gary Lineker, we're talking the ordinary people, the average is like 40-odd thousand a year, whereas the average wage in this country is like 20-odd thousand a year. Why? Why are they getting double what everyone else is getting?
Oh, have a look at all the layers of management, though, and they're all getting six figures.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another story for another day. Apparently, you want to talk about some wee.
Yes, this has got to be, oh come on, it's COVID, I'm sorry, I know, between the sheets we don't really do COVID, but this is surely the ultimate COVID story.
Must be.
It is, yeah, it's a wee bit funny. See what I did there. Any case, toilet humour aside, this is a mum and her children drank urine for 4 days.
Sorry.
I've drunk worse wine probably. After she was, but that's enough about that dinner party, James. After she was sent fake news from a friend, what sort of friend does this, suggesting it was a cure for COVID. Health watchdogs, I love the fact they have to do this, health watchdogs last night urged the public to be vigilant about this sort of misinformation and not to try it at home because it doesn't work. Well, thank you very much.
Exactly.
Don't drink wee, not good.
Know something, Sherlock. You know, answers on a postcard, please.
Don't eat that either. That's
no,
even
you see,
worse.
that's the sort of stuff that you learn if you read the Daily Star. Amazing.
It makes you
Who
smile.
knew?
It makes you smile. What is not to like?
What's not to like? Dawn Neesom, look, we are out of time.
Oh no.
I know, thank you so much for joining me. People can find your column in the Star.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, you can find it there. Don't forget, you'll need your nice special gloves if you're going to read The Guardian. Otherwise, I will be back for Between the Sheets with another episode very soon. I'm James Max. Thank you very much for watching.